an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So, Jeremy Corbyn's predictably, of course, he opposed extending airstrikes to Syria, but he's failed to persuade a lot of his MPs or his shadow cabinet and even the shadow foreign secretary that he's right. So yesterday he had to abandon plans to whip his MPs. He offered them instead a free vote. It was less than an edifying spectacle. In a stormy shadow cabinet meeting, it was reported that the shadow home secretary, Andy Burnham, accused Mr Corbyn of trying to throw MPs to the wolves by forcing them to vote against airstrikes. According to reports afterwards, shadow ministers described the situation as, quote, embarrassing and disgraceful. They accused Mr Corbyn of a lack of respect. Then yesterday evening, the Labour leader had to face backbench MPs. There were attacks on the party's advisor on defence policy, Ken Livingstone, and former Foreign Secretary Margaret Beckett was said to have argued, quote, "We cannot unite the party if the leader's office is determined to divide us." So, where does this leave Mr Corbyn's position? With me in the studio is Matt Rack. He's the General Secretary of the Fire Brigades Union, the FBU. They've just re-affiliated with Labour. Mr Rack says the party has, quote, changed for the better since the election of Jeremy Corbyn, arguing he's given his members and supporters hope that we can shift the political debate in favour of working people. Welcome, Mr Rack. I mean, I assume you've wanted the union to re-affiliate because you think Labour is now much more left-wing under Mr Corbyn.
Well, I think we think that there's an opportunity for politics that addresses the issues affecting working people and trade unionists. We were affiliated to the Labour Party from 1926. We disaffiliated in 2004. There was a debate then, there's been a debate now. And certainly Jeremy Corbyn has been a long-time ally of our union. He's stood by us in difficult times and stood up for trade union rights, for public services, against austerity, and that resonates with a lot of our people.
When you left Labour, the FBU developed some links with other far-left groups like the Trade Unions and Socialist Coalition.
Well, actually, the union nationally didn't, actually. The union
no, but individuals did.
Well, the individuals still have the right to do whatever they want to do politically, but the union has its policies. The union nationally has only ever supported Labour candidates.
But you must think now, or want to be part of the move, that the FBU wants to be part of a move to make the Labour Party stand for more things like like Tusk, rather than the Labour Party under Mr Blair.
Well, as I said, the union has never taken a position on Tusk. The union has its policies, which reflect many of the policies of many trade unions, against austerity, for workers' rights, standing up for public service workers and so on. So clearly, as an affiliate of the Labour Party, we will be arguing for those policies within the structures of the Labour Party. That's what any affiliate would do. What
policies of Mr Corbyn's don't you like?
I think we're very supportive of Mr Corbyn's policies.
That was my point.
Yes.
that you are. And what do you say to the argument that...
The point is that we're an independent organisation with our own policies and our own structures. We'll determine how we...
Oh, I understand that, of course. But what do you say to those who would point out that every time your wing of the Labour Party takes control or the Labour Party moves in this direction, you lose elections? Does that matter?
Well, of course it matters to win elections. I think that the experience, in our view, of the past decade, 2 decades, is that many core Labour voters have been disenfranchised, feel disenfranchised, and we would want to be part of a movement that re-engages with traditional Labour voters and with the trade unions. There's been a lot of disquiet among trade unions for many years.
But as you're probably about to find out in the Oldham by-election, those disheartened Labour voters are more likely to vote for UKIP than for your brand of politics.
There clearly needs to be a long-term strategy to engage with many of those people. I don't think but whatever wing of the Labour Party people might be on, nobody would dispute the need to engage and have a dialogue with people.
Are you happy that a strong left-wing voice has come into the Labour Party?
I'm always happy.
In a Mr Corbyn direction?
I'm delighted that the Fire Brigades Union has rejoined the Labour Party. It always struck me as a bit of an anomaly. that they ever left, if you don't mind me saying, Matt.
But it's another strong voice that is going to take the party in a direction of which you do not approve broadly.
Well, locally,
true,
my fire service has suffered tremendous cuts, and when I've been briefed by my chief fire officer, they've told me that by 2020, most of the firefighters, the majority of firefighters in West Yorkshire, will be over the age of 50. And I think there is a real issue in the fire service about the fact that we are not recruiting young firefighters, we're not training them, and the closure of fire stations. And actually, it's interesting what you said about different parties, because we have a former firefighter who is a UKIP councillor in my area. So I look forward to working with Matt on tackling some of the UKIP mythology about...
I understand that. But on the broad thrust of Mr Corbyn's direction that he's going in, that is now another strong voice that you will end up opposing.
I don't oppose the Fire Brigades Union. I think they do amazing work in tackling carbon monoxide.
The question was not, do you oppose the Fire Brigades Union for being a Fire Brigade Union? That would be an absurd question. Or do you oppose them for fighting fires or fighting carbon monoxide? That would be an equally ludicrous question. My point is that this is now a strong, well-organised union that is now back in the Labour Party, determined to take the Labour Party in the direction Mr Corbyn wants it to go, and you're opposed to that.
I want the Labour Party to move forward in the broad coalition and the broad church that it has always been, and I welcome the rejoining of the FBU as an historic trade union representing thousands of working men and women.
Your case?
Well, I'm not sure what my case is. So, you know, we all want to see a Labour government in 2020, and you know, the more people we have working towards that end, the better it is.
Should Mr Corbyn have whipped the Labour Party against extending bombing to Syria? Because you're against it too.
Personally, I have to say my union hasn't discussed the current situation, although we have discussed related matters. I mean, I'll just pick up on one point that Mary said. We're talking about the safety of British citizens in relation to terrorism. It is appalling that we're discussing that at the same time that this week the London Fire Brigade is discussing cutting of another 13 fire engines on the instructions of the Mayor. So if we're talking about the safety of British citizens, on 7/7 firefighters were sent down into tunnels to save people's lives in the event of a terrorist attack. We're now in a weaker position in relation to public safety than we were then. So firefighters have a great interest in addressing terrorism.
And a great role to play when terrorism...
I have to say, I think there is a lot of
But my question to you was, should Mr Corbyn have whipped the Labour Party against extending strikes into Syria?
Well, I wasn't in that discussion. That's a matter for Mr Corbyn as the leader of the Labour Party to make. I do think there are a whole host of contradictions in the position that David Cameron is adopting in relation to Syria. 2 years ago he wanted to bomb the other side. Today he wants to bomb a different side in a nasty civil war. I'm not personally convinced that there is a realistic strategy to address the threat of ISIL.
Caroline Lucas, you agree with Mr Corbyn on most things, don't you? On war and peace, social justice, environmental issues he's very big on, rejecting austerity, Trident. Where don't you agree with him?
Well, just on the issue of the free vote, I am glad that he did give a free vote, and I've been arguing that right from the start, that I think that on matters of such issues of conscience that it is right to give a free vote irrespective of how that actually goes out.
What about the wider issues that I raised?
Well, on the issue of Syria, on the issue of Trident, yes, Jeremy and I have worked very closely together.
Where don't you agree with them on major issues?
I mean, Jeremy is leading the Labour Party in a...
that bit I know. What bit don't you
let me
agree
finish
with
a
them?
sentence.
I'm just trying to get the answer.
Well, I'm saying that where I agree with him is that I think that he's got strong policies standing up for working people.
Where you agreed with him. I asked where do you disagree with him?
OK, well, I will give you the answer. Where I don't think he fully understands or goes far enough is actually on recognising the imperative of green policies, of environmental policy. Nuclear power, let's take that as an example.
He says he's a huge environmentalist, and I'm sure Jack, if you were in there, you could nudge him more in that direction.
Andrew, you are the last person to take what someone says as being the gospel truth. You will always address it and interrogate it. And so I would say that a Labour Party that's supporting nuclear power is a Labour Party that hasn't recognised that the future of energy needs to be one which is community energy, decentralised energy, that is renewable energy, green energy. The amount of money that nuclear energy is going to absolutely cost us is going to have massive opportunity costs.
Well, you've got the Fire Brigades Union, but I failed in my attempt to get the Greens.
Nice try.
A double hit for Labour there, but we didn't. Thank you very much to both of you.